It is on. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the CM Kozeman live stream. We got lots of excited people watching. Hello to Letoy, Eleanor Davis, and N Plush CYN, who is really eager to comment. Masakran says hello. N plus Cyan says hello. Please be respectful. Don't hog the chat, okay? Let everybody speak. Hello again. And I hope you all had a great week. Stay hydrated. As I am doing now. N plus Cyan had his or her Florida statewide assessment, which I think must be cool. Leto is from Twitter. Zexty says hello. Kuro Minami is joining from a noisy shopping mall. And everybody is in. Wow, this is a record participation, 24 people watching. Okay. Well, since you've been loving me and my work so much, I have got a little surprise for you. What could be in it? Oh my God. So you're gonna keep looking at the surprise and try to guess what this might be. And I will be right back getting my snacks and shit. Meanwhile, I want you to go to your Discords, your Twitters, everybody, and call everyone you know so we get more buddies in the room. Also, if you're a part of the replay gang, that is to say, if you're watching this after it was broadcast and, well, you're just watching it dead, not live, please like the video and support me on my socials. Did you know that if you like a video once, you will get that video recommended to 10 people? So that's a cool thing. Okay, I'll leave you face to face with the gift. Try to guess what this might be. I guarantee you're gonna fucking enjoy it. And I'm gonna get my evening's hot chocolate. Okay. Let's see. 36 people watching. And we got the recommendations or the guesses for the surprise gift. Regen Tauher says a fossil cast. Halloween Turkey says hello, Siam Kozaman. If you spam the chat in a language that is not English, I will regrettably and sadly ban you with maximum prejudice. Could be a character from All Tomorrow, says Chi-Bagged. Maybe. Maybe pottery, says Regen Tauher. And the overall consensus is toward something from All Tomorrows. And even Mouse says hi. And Eleanor Davis says hi. Hello again, Eleanor. This is an international podcast. You must be new here. You will see that people are joining from all over the world. So if you wax parochial, insisting on speaking Turkish, you might just disappear. Anyways, let's look at the gift. 40 people watching. I'm sure a lot of you are going to love this because it is a symbol of the gang you're all part of. Yes, behold, the Hop Bugs Bunny Gang official fucking jumping toy. Hop Bugs Bunny, hey. Hop, hop, Bugs Bunny. Hey, look at this shit. Hop, Bugs Bunny. Hey, hop, hop, Bugs Bunny. This hop, Bugs Bunny. Hey, hop, hop, Bugs Bunny. Look at this shit go. Jump, jump, jump. So it's one of those inflatable monkey toys. Sorry, an inflatable rabbit toys. Hop, Bugs Bunny. Hey, hop, hop, Bugs Bunny. Hey. Hop, Bugs Bunny, hey, hop, hop, Bugs Bunny, duka chuka bitch. So let me explain to you the lore of the Hop Bugs Bunny gang jumping toy. As you can see, there's like a squeezy thing here, and when I squeeze it, and an expanding plastic thing here inflates and just like pumps it up like an organ that almost all mammals have. Anyways, long story short, this all started thanks to a collaboration with a fellow and much more famous Turkish YouTuber Mert Günhan. And together we have a show where we talk about supernatural stuff, Forteana, conspiracy theories, and so on and so forth. So these subjects are inextricably linked to this one song you may have heard if you ever watched videos about UAPs, UFOs, and stuff. And it's a song by a performer called William. Wait. So the song is called William Lane and it's called Particles. I can't play it because I think YouTube will block my video, but it's this song basically, okay? And the song goes tat 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 tat. But this video usually accompanies footage of like UAPs, UFOs, and shit, okay? So in the Turkish language, it just occurred to me to sing the song with made up bullshit lyrics. So I said, hop, Bugs Bunny, hey, hop, hop, Bugs Bunny, hey, hop, Bugs Bunny, which was really well liked. So long story short, the fandom I had with Mert Günhan began calling themselves the Hop Bugs Bunny Gang. And so I just thought it would be fun to get an actual Hop Bugs Bunny jumping toy. I actually looked all over for this and found it at the end in a shitty toy seller in Üsküdar, which was where Florence Nightingale used to treat her patients. And I even got an extra one for my friend Mert Günhan. So on the next stream I have with him, we can do a Hop Bugs Bunny unboxing. And yeah, these things are cheap and cool, and they cost about as much as a shitty cappuccino. So here you go. Eleanor Davis says, I remember you singing the Bugs Bunny song on a different stream. Well, yes, you got sharp memory. Speaking of gifts, a time of gifts is about to begin because I got lots of snacks. Letoy says, Lisan al Gayip. So to go with the hot chocolate I have, which is in this container, I have marshmallows. I have two kinds of Turkish snacks, which are really cool. The white biskrem, the black biskrem, or the white Ülker creamy sandwich biscuit. And then, in case I feel really fancy, I also have salted caramel milk chocolate from Godiva. And I guess this cost more than everything else combined, including the two Hop Bugs Bunny bullshit toys. Okay. Haribo, you are a man of culture, says. That was actually really cheap. So anyways, long story short, it's a very cozy night. Where I am broadcasting from, it's actually a very cold night. And it's raining or snowing. So yeah, it's cool. Halloween Turkey says Elite Ball snacks. Well, why don't you all let me know where you're coming from while I have these Elite Ball snacks. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? Let's go. Joseph, my good friend. Shabbat Shalom, my friend, from Long Island, New York, USA. Regentauer from Germany. Very nice. Eleanor Davis from Britain, Great Britain. Hello, hello, hello. You are now the #1 commenter, Eleanor. Lovely. Jesse Birdsall from Baltimore, Maryland. Not Jackie Chan is from West Coast, USA. Rataratata is from Ankara, where I was born. And I might travel too soon, actually. Flowzone is from a German town with a name which sounds funny. So in an earlier stream, I think you told me the name of your town, but I couldn't get the pun, so sorry about that. Halloween Turkey is from Mexico, okay. Even Mouse is from South Wales, but not New South Wales, Australia, actual Wales. My good friend Onur T is joining in from Olympos, officially known as Çıralı, down in the Lycian coast. That place must be like, it's like a really cool and virgin looking part of the Turkish Riviera. A little bit messed up by, well, just a lot of people being there. But nevertheless, it's still a really nice place. And in the winter, it must be crazy beautiful, but also slightly maddening, huh? I mean, the place looks like this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all. The place looks like this, which is insane. And if you move back from this little secluded cove, there's actually an entire ruined city in there. But yeah, in the winter, it's crazy. And you either must, I think if I lived there during the winter, I would either write a book or go crazy. Also, it's a great place to collect driftwood because due to the currents, the craziest pieces of wood come washing up, and it's lovely. Letoy is from Izmit. Ian Harris joining in from Mizora. Halloween Turkey started their own micronation today. Okay. Eleanor Davis says driftwood has the best shapes. Skin Gobbler says Kozeman. Yes, it's me. Since we're doing the roll call, where are you from, Skin Gobbler? Even Mouse says, I was thinking about the place with the longest name in the world. Lan, Fair, Pwil, Gwi, Grill, Gogar, Chirn, Drob, Vil, Lanti, Silio, Gogogoch in Wales. Yeah, I know that place. It was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was very popular as a record-breaking long name. So yeah. Opium Dreams Eternal says hello. That's a mystifying name. Skin Gobbler is from the Netherlands, and okay, you're the person who made that really cool 3D model of the blind people. Mr. Kozman, what do you think about sparkling water? Says Letoy. I like it. It's a nice palate cleanser. In Europe, you can't have anything other than sparkling water unless you directly ask for it. And when I was living and working there, it took me some time to get used to. Molly Deo says, Mr. Kozeman, are you in the autistic spectrum by any chance? I hope I'm not being rude. No, actually, this is a great question. So, look, when I was growing up, this is not a weird question. Come on. It's, I think, a great question. I'm a bit trigger happy tonight, so don't harass people, okay? Anyways, when I was growing up, I had a phase where, especially during lessons, I would look into just like a sheet of paper and scribble on the margins and draw creatures and stuff. I would also listen to the lesson. But one of the teachers had an issue with it and like made a big point of me not doing any eye contact. And also my parents were more of the social sort of boomers. So when we were growing up with my brother, it was always a thing to have like, oh, our parents they have a party, have a few friends over, whatever. And then they would just play music, ha ha ha, talk, drink, whatever, have their friends over. So I remember distinctly hating social gatherings of like more than 3 people. I mean, I got lots of friends, but I rarely meet people in a group, you know? So those things came together, the lack of eye contact and the sort of antisocial stance. And I think there was a time briefly where my parents thought, wow, is he autistic or something? But they didn't see it like a disorder or a disease, which is different from what happens today. Later on, when I was growing up, I met people with actual autistic children. And these are like people who are not like too much into trains or like just dreamy or just they flutter their hands or something. No, Like I met a family friend whose kid didn't speak until he was like 8 years old and did not communicate to people. And the mother was crying, saying, "What's going to happen after I die?" So to me, growing up, that is being on the spectrum. And everything else, I think, okay, you're a little weird. So fucking what? I mean, but maybe I'm old fashioned, but I think it should be considered a disorder only when it impacts your life as severely as a disease would. So there is that. Um, if I was born 20 years later to fidgety millennial parents, maybe they would say I would be on the maybe they would say I was on the spectrum and treat me that way. But also, and remember, I am very socially keen too. After years of interacting with people and, well, suffering at the hands of people sometimes, you really got to be able to see like 2 3 steps ahead, like playing chess, when you're interacting with human beings. And you got to be able to say, well, I mean, like, one of my friends told me this recently. So he was not from a he was from a well-off background, and he had some friends, and then he would buy gifts or do treats for his friends. But then, for example, the friends felt pressured to socialize with this guy, and they felt like they had an obligation. And also, they felt like, maybe this guy was like, he had the best intentions, but they felt like he was like belittling them or like rubbing it into their noses. So when you're dealing with people, you got to be able to notice all these nuances like this and be able to imagine 4 or 5 steps ahead, so I can achieve like lots of direct focus into something that's very niche, but I can also zoom out and play the fucking game of human beings. So I don't think I'm on the spectrum. So, anyways, lots of comments went by. I will do an audiobook of All Tomorrow, says Tenevongoam. Okay, but if you sell it, my publisher might come after you. Would it be possible for cold-blooded animals to evolve the power of flight? Says YouTube Joseph. Maybe, but I think the warm-blooded, cold-blooded distinction people used to think there's reptiles and they're cold-blooded, and there's birds, they're warm-blooded, and there's mammals, they're warm-blooded. It was thought to be an impermeable barrier. Then you realize fish are also cold-blooded too. But for example, some fish like tuna are actually actively warm-blooded. They heat their bodies up like mammals by shivering, and so that changes. Some, I think, skinks also like socially keep warm. So it's an analog distinction. But yeah, I think like you could classify some insects as cold-blooded flyers, no? Diyojen Amin is reporting from Kuşadası. It would be cool if you were calling in from Sinop, where the actual historic Diogenes lived. Spectrum Gang says not Jackie Chan. Okay. Letoy says, what are your top sparkling water brands in Turkey? To be honest, I just buy anything that's plain and not flavored. Nihilan Satan, Nihilant Satan has finally learned the lesson and is typing in English like a nice person. Buddha actually presented a materialist and atheistic worldview, but his students distorted his teachings and later created a religion around him called Buddhism. What do you think about this? I don't know that much about Buddhism, but if it really is, as you suggest, then it's the inescapable nature of personality cults. Even Mouse says, in my bestiary, I have magical flying planarians. That's very cool. What do they eat to fly? Because it takes a lot of energy to just wibble and fly. Like that thing in the last Avatar movie. Letoy is inviting me to Sabancı University. Okay, organize something and I will be there. Halloween Turkey says, I made a book inspired by All Tomorrows. Great. Guitar Tapping Master says, I am a big fan from Latvia. I love your book, All Tomorrows. Do you know Hayko Cepkin? Yes, he's an Armenian rock star based in Turkey. He's like Serj Tankian if his head was screwed on right. Let's see. So he's this guy. So this guy had a stage act where he kept one eyelid drooping, and it kind of became his personality. And now I think it got stuck that way. But yeah, let me like find a nice picture of Hayko Cepkin. I didn't listen to his songs a lot, but I always respected him alongside others like Şebnem Ferah, Onno Tunç, and others. So this is Hayko Cepkin. Captain Florai says, I am from Brazil. Will All Tomorrows come out in Brazil? Well, I can assure you, things are in motion. And there will be a Brazilian Portuguese version of All Tomorrows soon, and I will promote it. So you can all say, this is Brazil! And that's that. Onur T says, I have Asperger's, still struggling with higher education in my mid-30s. I had to take a temporary leave to get a job to make some money for a new computer, which could ease my education. All the best of luck, brother. I know it's not easy getting on by, especially not in these days and ages. Cosmos Hussein congratulates me, as many other people did, for the Turkish print edition. Yes, so this was big news this week where we are officially producing with Kara Karga Books in Istanbul an official Turkish edition, and stay tuned. Will your work be turned into a series or a film? I hope they license it for a good fee first. You have to take the long game. You have to play the long game with these things. You can't do everything in once. Just wait. I think it's going to be 5, maybe 10 years before this All Tomorrow's book reaches its full potential. So there. Even Mouse says, my flying planarians supply their body with energy by eating aerial plankton. Okay, that's very nice. Cranby Crew is making a fun story about a killer folk person in the All Tomorrows universe who doesn't hunt. Go for it. And all right, I mean, publish it online for free. I'd love to read it. I was thinking about your drawings. They're beautiful. How much do you spend drawing? How do you think about selling them? Well, I take commissions. And if you want to commission me something, go to my Patreon and subscribe, and or send me an email. You can find my email if you search for it. And we'll talk about it. I've been doing commissions for nearly 3 years now. I mean, here's a. I'll show you some of the commissioned art I've done. So this was one. These are from 2023. This was from The Great Ship Universe by Robert Reed, one of the aliens in that science fiction universe. This was an alien by one of my good online friends. This was for another online customer, and this was a special commission. It was twice as expensive as the other ones because I later printed out this image and added colors by hand, which makes it really beautiful. But yeah, this was for another online customer. Later on, Erica Brickley, I think was the name. And later on, this became a book cover for her own science fiction universe. This is from the All Tomorrows universe, but the person who requested it was a fan. And this is one of the modular people in the new incarnation. Oh, shit. The screen is black. Ha! God damn. Okay, it loaded now. Can you see now? Okay, well, let me scroll back up. Anyways, so this thing, this was the handmade painting, which I later colored with watercolors. This was Erica Brickley's Alien, which she later used for a book cover. This was like my current interpretation of the modular people. And you can see they're much more squished together and Sally. And there's different units for the brains or the sensors. There's one unit for the trunk joined to another one here. So each segment is an entity. And there are these like two entities in the chest that help it. Plus the rest of its body is like segmented, and it's just like a mass of conjoined fetuses, really. So I really like this thing. So these are some of my commissions. This was like one of the first ones I did. And the guy really cool. He just said, I want an alien with an egg-shaped head, 4 limbs in its head, 4 more limbs in its body, and a genital on its tail. And that's all he told me. And I just drew it. This was by, I forgot, but it was by a lady. And she told me that she's studying physics. So she wanted me to draw a creature from another dimension. So basically I did these like color tricks to highlight its like extra dimensional nature. And you can see it's like bleeding lightning as it steps because its shadow is lightning. So that was my joke. A lot of things. So this is what I bring onto table. This was I think there's a musician from Louisiana, and he wanted me to draw what an orgasm would look like as a human-shaped tree. And yeah, I didn't want to get too sexual, but I also needed to tell the story, so there's that. It's like a monster. And this was inspired by this famous engraving of the Ravenna monster, which was apparently born in the Italian city of Ravenna, but they thought it was like a portent of doom or something. And anyways, this is the Ravenna monster, and well, those were my commissions. But you see, that's the thing. I mean, being a good illustrator also depends on how much you know, and like, so if someone wants you to draw an orgasm creature, you don't just give them the orgasm creature, which might be banal, to be honest, but you do something with a bit more historic, deep lore behind it. Anyways, it adds value to it. Have you read the Children of Time book? Do you have any recommendations for similar books? I haven't read The Children of Time, but Adrian Tchaikovsky, just a second. He's actually the grandson of the Tchaikovsky, the composer. And he's very prolific. I think, okay, I read this book by him, Doors of Eden, and well, this book actually, some of the ideas he took from me, and he credits me in the introduction. So there is that. Joseph says, I don't think aliens would have male and female sexes. They would have an entirely different pair. It all depends on how their chromosomes separated. Maybe they have 3, or I mean, if there's two sexes, then inevitably a human observer would call one of them male and one of them female. But of course, it's all a bit a matter of semantics after a point. Have you played Stellaris, says Letoy. No, I haven't. I'm not a good gamer. I don't have much time for games. So there's that. I'm going to take a little bio break, answer a call of nature, get some more hot chocolate, get some sparkling water, and the goddamn Haribo was like choking. So I don't think I'm going to have the biscuits and the chocolates. So let me just organize my snacks and come back, okay? In the meantime, what should you do? I put the Bugs Bunny shit away. Let's give you something fun to look at. Okay, let's have you look at this sneak preview showing the diversity of fish and some splendid herbivores from Snayad, my world design project. Okay. Well, I hope you can see these. Anyways, fish and things. Okay, I'll be right back. See you. How am I going to tilt these up now? Okay. Huh. Okay, you got to make do with. Okay, see you soon. I burped. Okay, in some cultures, it's a sign of respect, okay? Okay, I'm not officially back yet, but here's a tip. Don't ask questions about me or like my, like if I play games or shit, but like ask me things about, well, broader concepts in the world, or like things which you are curious about independent of me or my stupid books and stuff like that. So, we can have like a deeper discussion going. Anyways, I'm just hitting the shitter. I'll be right back. I'm back. I got the nice snack pack here. We got the food, which is tomatoes, cucumber, and cured meat, let's just say that much. Pork. We got the sparkling water, which is good. And in case we have a very jolly night, I also got some beer along, but I'm not going to open it right now. And, well, food and drinks, they're very important. There's a famous story called The Nightland. It's a science fiction, deep, dark sci fi fantasy. And half of the story is really, half of the book is filled with descriptions of the character getting hungry and eating. And at first you think that's boring or like protracted or too much, but then you realize a lot of life is spent eating and shitting and talking. So that's that. Okay, lots of nice conversation. Banana, banana. Have you read the Picatrix or the Goetia, says Gyosen? I have looked at them. I even entertained the possibility of illustrating a related book, Colin Clancy's Dictionnaire Infernal. Yeah, it's a French book by Jacques Collin de Plancy, which was published in 1818. That's 1818. And it's a dictionary of strange and very scary demons. And I had the project about illustrating that once. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. What do you think there being a herbivorous pterosaur that ended up evolving to spacefaring animals? I think herbivorous pterosaurs are real. I think Sinopterus was found with fruit or plant fossils, no? It's this character, Sinopterus. Let me find a good image for you all. So this thing was found out to be a fruit eater. Goddamn. Sorry, I'm just looking for a nice picture. Okay. So this character, it was a plant and fruit eater. But as for colonizing space, forget about it. Nobody's going to colonize space. No pterosaurs, no humans, no dinosaurs, no killer folk, nobody. Talk to Encladian says, I like the funny creatures. Thank you. I like you, man. Enes says, Hop Bugs Bunny. Eleanor Davis says, banana. Maybe expecting me to eat one, but I'm eating veggies now. Eleanor Davis says, maybe ghosts are what cats stare at when we think they're staring at nothing. In the Turkish cat internet sphere, people usually comment like, look, there's our tomboy staring at the jinn again, where the cat is staring at the corner. But I think they're not staring at any ghosts. If you notice, they got always have one ear turned to you. So they're like, they're tuning into what you're saying. Ghosts, I'm not sure if they're really real. I'm not sure if they're really real too. One thing, if that was a natural phenomenon, you would expect there to be more evidence with everybody rocking a smartphone these days. But actually, ghost footage has gone down. You got niche subcultures like the electronic voice phenomena crowd, where they record silence for 8 hours, and then if there's like a noise, they slow that down like 80 times, and because and they think an entity is trying to communicate with them. Did you read the Three Body Problem? No, I haven't. I started watching its episodes on Netflix. I mean, it's a great novel, but didn't really cut it for me. I think like it's a bit weird always to mix or mash historic events into together with sci-fi. I think writing fictionally about historic events is always going to be a bit bland, just like those marshmallows I ate, because the reality is vaster and more interesting than fiction can ever be. So, like stories about one woman's experience in the Cultural Revolution, like, and you're mixing that with aliens, you're actually secretly doing, you're secretly, maybe not intentionally, but definitely secretly, disrespecting the memory of the people who lived and died in that era. Even with fiction, I mean, like, I'm imagine this like high street bookshop author who has a cushy life, but like goes on for years doing research about, I don't know, like a fictional character who lived around the time of Stalin's purges or something. Like, man, millions died. I mean, come on. If you want to toot your horn, write fiction and write science fiction like every other cool person. Cranby Crew says, my grandmother once told me she saw a ghost when she was a child, but I believe in them. I mean, it's not, the possibility isn't zero. If anything like that is real, they're more likely to be memetic entities. That is to say, they access your consciousness directly without existing in the material world. I think that's probable. Brother Man says, is it just me or do novels translated by Americans tend to have an American tone, unlike novels which have been translated by British translators? Yes, yes, yes. Now, apologies to all the Americans, but still, like, even as like philosophers or something, like American philosophers always make this mistake of having this me tone. Even like your greats like Emerson or Henry David Thoreau, like Walden, huh? It's about me. I built the cabin. I went to the lake. A mile from any neighbor in a house which I myself have built. And oh, it's a perspective. But I think, really, I think in the planet, only the British have this sort of total awareness when it comes to philosophy and when it comes to writing too. Nihilant Satan says the human brain evolved to perceive reality, and differences in ancient brain structures may explain how early humans understood concepts like cyclical universes without science, relying purely on observation. I think you get a sense of this intuitively about time, about all life forms being self aware, about somehow death not being the end. I think you can intuitively feel it, whether if whether it's related to brain parts, I don't know. Even Mouse says, I saw a Mothman once smoking a cigar with his mate Megalodon behind the Tesco's. I believe that. That's like top grade British philosophy right there. You don't like Greek or German philosophers? The ancient Greeks they pinned down some very pertinent understandings. I'm afraid German philosophers are too high up there in the air, trying to ram everything into a bed of Procrustes based on their lofty ideals. Name top 3 philosophers from Germany: Nietzsche, Spengler, Hitler. Puh. Sorry, not a fan. Even like the greats, okay, like Hegel, whatever, like Kant, Hegel, they're still like on the gist of it, they're not about observing reality, but trying to hammer everything into some like made out ideal scheme they have in their fucking heads about true ethics, reality. Not a huge fan of German philosophers, sorry. Like Britain has them. The greats whose work really interacts with nature. Darwin, huh? That's a philosopher. Realm Corporation says, okay, look, guys, I just warned you when I was taking a big shit. I warned you all. Give me more big life questions and less about my individual like video game stuff. And sadly, unless it's something like really extreme or really to the point, less about your creations too. Don't be offended, but I mean, I don't like talking about all tomorrows, for example, strange as that might sound. So like here we are talking about continental philosophy, and you barge in saying, anyways, my next project, okay, but have some tact. Would you say that in a crowded room? Third, Flowzone says, what do you think is the furthest celestial object humanity will ever reach? As like actual flesh and bone humans walking on the surface of the planet, I would say maybe Mars or maybe one of the moons of Jupiter. But I'm a big skeptic about colonizing space. Like, for example, much has been made about like colonizing Mars. We're gonna like land in atomic reactors and crack the ice and make atmosphere or drop a comet there. Thing is, Mars doesn't have enough gravity to hold an atmosphere that's even like breathable. Even if you magically teleported all the oxygen, in 50 years, it could blow apart again. So you could have like people living in tunnels, paying for air to Elon Musk's company to stay alive, but you need to import Earth's entire industrial base, which is not very likely. Wait. But I think like explorers could land on Mars and muck around for a year or two, then have to go back home. That's not impossible. There could be a base on the moon, like there's a space station. But yeah, maybe if like we hit a golden age, maybe they can like shuttle one researcher to Europa or Titan or Ganymede and bring him or her back. Of course, you can send machines everywhere. Like if you think about like the furthest place humanity will reach in terms of civilization, I think you could send probes or machines to great distances, but don't expect to hear back from them. If you go to my channel's videos, and I got like lots of videos where I'm skeptical about space travel, and I list the reasons why too. What is your favorite aesthetics? I like dreamcore, weirdcore. Okay, we're gonna go to that. There's a cursed aesthetic website. We're gonna go explore that. Okay. If you could activate the volcanoes in Mars, a new atmosphere would emerge, says Idiki with infinite naivete. I just told you the gravity is not enough. Activate all the shit. Doesn't fucking matter. It's gonna blow off into space, dissipate. Gravity, come on. Mars being cheerful and childish and bubbly is literally can. Yes, that's a nice thing. What about Venus, says? Okay, that's more pertinent. Still, I don't know. It's a bit more far off from Earth, and you need to bring in lots of comets and ice, and even then, it's kind of doubtful if you can change or replace the atmosphere altogether. But people can still land there and live there. The Russians sent there a probe called the Venera probe. Challenger really set things back for us. No magnetosphere. I apologize for my overtly materialistic messages, says Nihilant. Growing up in the 1990s, like I did, secular rap, rock, R&B felt deeply original. I once believed the inspiration came from God. I mean, look, without getting too wishy-washy or Deepak Chopra about this, universe itself could be God. I don't know. How about traveling to another planet as eggs and sperm? Then you would have a very lonely baby and that kid would die. Also, like the thing with traveling to other planets is, well, imagine you have a heater, one part breaks down. You maybe have a spare. What if that breaks down? Like things break down and you need a big industrial base to fix everything. Wouldn't you have to live in blimps or cloud cities on Venus to get a habitable pressure and temperature, says YouTube Joseph? Maybe, but how are you going to build them? How are you going to ship them? These are really big questions. Roxanne Namili says yes. Okay. Tuna Birgün says, hello, brother. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you. All right. So, and my favorite aesthetics. Okay, let's look at this. There is the aesthetics wiki, which, okay, let's look at it together. And I hope you don't get a black screen. Crazy Nunchuck says, so bottom-up space-adapted species is necessary. Yes, I think that's the only way it's even faintly possible. I think like people who live and breathe in space stations, which would be dystopian, I think it's more plausible than exploring, like going to another planet with ships and stepping off. Why leave the ship? Okay, this cursed page, sorry, is the list of aesthetics. Need help finding your look. And I mean, there's just so many things. I don't know. I don't have a favorite aesthetic, maybe with the exception of maximalism, but I'm also a very neat guy. So I like things like this, where there are a lot of things, but they're also functional, like. So I think like this is the kind of aesthetic I can get behind. But a lot of things come up when you search for maximalism. But for example, this is not the kind of maximalism I like. Let me show you. Actually, this is a good example. Like this is pretty similar to my my house IRL, to be honest. So this would be the aesthetic I am most comfortable with. There's also a wastebasket bullshit form of maximalism, which maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on. But it looks like this. This is not my thing. Like it's like, look, everybody has their own tastes, but it's too garish. It's a little bit too plebeian. It's a bit too cheap. It was built in an afternoon. It was all like these paintings of like these ethnic women looking zesty. They're so stereotypical. They're almost racist. And the plants too, poor plants. Anyway, so that's not the kind of aesthetic I like. So let's look at the aesthetics wiki. These are more personal aesthetics though, and I have like alternative, okay, umbrella terms. Let's explore that. Can you see it, by the way? Oh no, I want to see the trailer. Get out of here. There's lots of related subcultures. Like this website has these insane lists of some very niche aesthetics. Like I don't know what some of these mean. Decora, what does that mean? Can you see it, by the way? Yeah, decora is, well, when you look like this, I guess. Excessive layering of accessories, hair clips, face stickers. Okay. If you're a microplastic poisoned baby, okay, maybe. Related aesthetics. Which one should we choose? Fairy Kai, dopamine. Anyways, these are all terrible. I don't think dopamine. Okay, I'm gonna choose that one. Sorry about the ads. This is not too different from what we just saw, but Saturated colors and maximalist elements. Vibrant colors can. Oh my god, there's some horrible things here. Kidcore. Blech. What a bunch of pap. I'm sorry. Kidcore, god damn it. One of the most famous online reaction YouTubers, guy by the name of Turkey Tom, just got exposed, and we are recording on the 16th of January, but just got exposed talking like he had an ex-girlfriend and he was talking to her and saying like I'm into kidcore stuff, which is really, really horrible. Anyways, just an awful thing. Anyways, that was that for the aesthetic side. Are there some less known modernist aesthetics from Turkey? Says Flow Zone. There actually are. I think the Turkish capital Ankara has this great vibe of its own, especially between the 1970s and the 1990s. It was a thing of steel and beauty. Okay, so I'm going to share you some pictures of bygone Ankara. Turkey Tom always gave me bad vibes. Yeah. Can you see this, by the way? Let's confirm if you can see the screen, and I'll show you Turkish aesthetics. So this is my favorite, like secular military nation state modernity in Turkey aesthetics. So these are all from a book promoting Ankara, and they have these buildings inspired mostly by Le Corbusier and also German architects, but they always give them their own unique spin with like little decorations, almost like almost like Eastern Bloc architecture, but with more life in it and the free market element too. So this is like Tandoğan Square. This monument was built in the 1930s, and there are all these like modernist concrete buildings for the government and sometimes for commercial spaces. This thing you see here is an older building from maybe like the 1890s or the early 1900s. But I think this is a vibe in itself. This thing is a vibe in itself. Is it like brutalist? Not exactly, not exactly. You might say there is a Turkish version of brutalism, but I think the modern architecture has a aesthetic and a vibe to it too. Even these cars, which are locally produced Renault cars, I mean, you go back and you realize there was a kind of congruency to the whole thing. This is the Opera House, the Ankara Opera House. So it's like not exactly brutalistic because there's some like decorative elements too. This is one of the art galleries. So beautiful. The painters, like modern painting in Turkey, is also very, very nice. This is Çankaya, the center of modern Ankara. This is the Sheraton Hotel. This was a big shopping mall next to it. If I look at this picture long enough, I could cry because I was born not far from here, like literally among one of these streets was the house I grew up as a child. So beautiful. This is the Hilton Hotel, but once again, the area around it full of embassies and parks and all these like it's not exactly brutalism. There are a lot of curves too, but yeah. Now I want to go to Turkey even more. You should visit Ankara if you go. I mean, if you're into this kind of stuff, visit Ankara first. I'll even show you which hotel you're going to stay in. We can actually do a map dive. Eco brutalism, in a way, says Flowzone. Very true. Handsome brother says, okay, thank you. Zoz says, should I master in anthropology or sociology? By this, I think you mean you're going to go into academia, right? I have no idea. I mean, if it was a choice between mastering in sociology or learning how to be a woodworker or an electrical welder, I would say pick the trade always. Or if it even was between like law or sociology or whatever. But these two subjects are very close to each other. And to face the truth, their employment opportunities are about similar. So go to whichever one that you like. Or talk to the people in those departments, ask if there's mobbing, and if there's mobbing, don't go to that one. Or go to the one with the least amount of mobbing and shit. So this is a dinner at the Hilton Hotel, obviously a bit staged, but whatever. So this, okay, the Hilton was like a bit more upper class and exclusive, but like this is the Ankara, which I remember from my childhood. It's almost like Germany or the Czech Republic during the late end of the Cold War. But this is on Izmir Avenue, which is close to Kızılay, which is once again a central part of the city. But here you got families, you got like institutions which appear like they worked, and it's cold but also crisp, and there's always something very nice and nostalgic about these places. It also reminds me of Yugoslavia. Very true. Like Yugoslavia, it's also a vision of a country that no longer exists. I mean, Turkey does exist, but not in this incarnation. It's Ivan Mouse's birthday. Not to toot my own horn. Well, if it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ivan Mouse. What the heck are you doing in this eccentric live stream? Go enjoy. Have a nice birthday. Happy birthday. Let's say happy birthday to Ivan, everybody. That's EVAN. Okay. Let's continue with the Ankara Turkish aesthetics nostalgia. This is a train. Once again, this is a bit of a staged picture. I mean, I guess television, you can watch the TV and go. That's nice and clean. This was the old presidential villa of the Turkish Republic. As you can see, compared to the current presidential palace, which has something like 1,000 rooms, this was a more humanely proportioned building. I don't know, this place still exists, but I don't know what it's used for now. And this is something that would be dear to the hearts of many people from Ankara. This is the Atakule shopping mall, which was like one of the first American shopping malls in the city. And it's also in like a really nice, walkable area. off the town. So always beautiful to look at. Cheers, mate. Happy birthday. Lots of hearts coming in. Thank you to whoever is sending me those hearts. Laila Moon says, when you travel, do you focus more on architecture or nature? I just walk around and look at whatever's interesting. I don't shift gears that way. I also don't usually go out of my way to like, oh, there's a nice building there, I have to see it. Like when you like peruse something, the mystery always goes out of it a little. But if I'm like randomly walking in a new city and I happen to see something cool, then I felt like I really earned it. Until last year, I thought there couldn't be snow in Turkey. It was always warm there. Well, many such cases. I am a Turkish high schooler from Antalya. Should I go to Ankara for university? If your parents let you, and if you study something which will really contribute to you, yes. But before going, you must learn how to cook, how to wash, how to clean. I'm really not joking. I know people all over the world who move out on houses of their own, then rot because the basics, cleaning, dishes, clothes, how to cook, so you don't waste money eating in student cafes all the time. You should figure that out. These are much more essential than uni lessons. True. Very, very true. In fact, I think literally these things should be taught to people in high school, like home maintenance, how to make a rent contract, how to lease a building, how to cook, how to sew, how to like these things are important to man and woman. Personal hygiene. And these must be taught with demonstrations too, like the whole class must be lined up. Okay, here we'll show you how to cook vegetables, chop, and show them. It's very easy to learn, but very hard to get into. I can already do those things. Okay, then go. Ankara is a nice city to be a student in. Aytajan says, I'm a big fan of your extraordinary city tour videos, unique treasures in Ankara. Well, go to my channel. There's a tab that says travel videos, and these are travel videos that I film, and there's lots of stuff from Ankara in there. These are the mass housing they built right behind this shopping mall, actually. This is the tower of that shopping mall. It's like the Seattle Space Tower. And these are the apartments there. And these are like the more humble shack buildings that they replaced. There's coal smoke in the horizon, but it's all very beautiful, very pretty. And this is one of the most beloved areas in the city, the Swan Park, where there's a pond and there are swans in it and you can feed them. Still a very neat place. This is the Sıhhiye Square, another part of Ankara. But once again, I think these buildings and these statues and like the overall look of the city, even like the faint mountains in the background, they all contribute to a very uniquely Turkish aesthetic. This is a computer lab from a local university. Look at it. He's reading code from this notebook and inputting the code. All these students must be millionaires now. If they studied computer science in the 1990s, off. This is close to Kızılay once again. Like I'm just drink it in, as I say. So this is like a Google Maps trip with a time machine. This is the Anatolian Museum of Anatolian Civilizations, and this place is literally one of the best museums on the planet. Literally, it's like the Louvre, the British Museum. Then you got the Istanbul Archaeology Museum, and then you got this. These are like literally the top 4 museums on the planet. And this is the fertility monument in front of a bank, a monument dedicated to motherhood. I think it's very touching. What is the name of that building? It's Atakule, that's Atakule. And the city is Ankara, that's Ankara. The whole scene goes together so well, says Eleanor. Yes. I lived for 15 years in Ankara. Our house was close to Atakule. Miss it so much, says Kuro Minami. Yes, indeed, these things really make people cry. And this is the favorite, the Natural History Museum of Ankara. My grandfather took me there. And this was the MTA Museum, the Maden Tetkik Arama Museum, officially like the Miners and Prospectors Museum. But they had a fossil section too, and they had like a fully functional natural history museum with a Allosaurus skeleton. And in this section, there were reproductions of the Zallinger mural and also trilobite fossils or Nautilus fossils or ammonite fossils from all across Turkey. Here's a monument to the miners, and here's the bust of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, secular Turkey's founding father. So yeah, these are like very close to my heart. Your best museum type? Yeah, I mean, like my grandfather took me to this museum, and it was like one of the life-changing events for me. 1 hour and 30 minutes in, 50 people watching. Oh, let me check some messages. Okay. Zekang says you have to flesh out the lore for all tomorrows. I am actually doing that. There's a big rewrite of the book coming. And go to my Patreon to read some excerpts. I'm a bit tired, but maybe we can explore some parts of the world in the map hour. What do you all think? There's a park in London where there's a population of the Nene Hawaiian goose, the rarest goose in the world. True. That's really cool. I heard that every child is addicted to something when they're growing up. Space, ancient Egyptians. Were you addicted to dinosaurs? I think I like them all, but if I had to rank them, dinosaurs would be number 1. Ivan Gomez says, hi, hello, my friend. Okay, so everybody wants to go do maps. I'm contemplating if I should drink some beer while traveling without moving, by by looking at Google freaking Maps, but it's really fun. Maybe I could have a little. Okay, let's do a poll. Okay. Okay, so should I drink beer, soda, or tea? Vote! Vote, vote, vote. And I will be right back after answering a call of nature. I won't drink it all, but anyways, I'll be back. Okay, let's see what the butcher's bill is. You could mix all the drinks to make a magic potion. Okay. Not Jackie Chan says, take some mushrooms too. That is a crime. Crazy Nunchuck says, make a Churchill. So there is a cocktail or like a refresher known as a Churchill, but it's known by that name in Turkey only, where you have some sparkling water and you mix that with lemon juice and salt. And it's a really nice pickup thing. I mean, it's really nice against hangovers or in the summer against dehydration. So yes, Guitar Tapping Master says, when I saw Dankilosteus as a kid, Dankilosteus flew out at me. When I saw it in a book, I was addicted to dinosaurs too. Sıvacı Mahmut Usta says, drink all of them. Okay, well. Kozaman has the vibe of Kim Kitsuragi. In Disco Elysium, I'm afraid I have never played that game. It's a character which looks like, I don't know. Well, I guess it's flattering, but I have no idea. I don't know anything about that game, that character. Aita Jan says beer might affect your visibility. Okay, so look, I'm not going to drink out of a can. Here's what we're going to do. Just a little nightcap. Normally, I don't advise drinking to anybody, but you know, a little, just a tipple, just a fucking spliff. One of our dear family friends used to say that, a spliff, and he kept having spliffs into like 3 a.m. Literally, a spliff was an American word for a small glass of water, small glass of beer that you are meant to drink after a big drinking session or whatever. Anyways, this person unfortunately passed away. He was a very close family friend. Masakran says, can I want effing? Well, you can want it. Whether you'll get it is another question. You should play Disco Elysium. I don't even have a computer that's fit for gaming. Come on. Win for the family friend. Well, I think he had the last laugh. He had a vicarious and he had a vicarious life. God rest his soul. As a non-drinker, I'm scared to watch this. Look, don't drink. I can barely, like, this is the maximum amount of alcohol I can get. If I drink like a full can, it would really impact me. And I can't even imagine how people drink like half a bottle of fucking vodka or stuff like that and survive. Were you ever drunk before? I have drunk alcohol lots of times before, but I think the last time I was drunk off my ass was maybe when I was 20 or something, which was 21 years ago. I once got hospitalized because of whiskey. I hate it. Yes. Look, my only thing is maybe some wine at a dinner, but never any more than this. Or some beer when you're socializing, never any more than this. And I like malt beer. Or some beer, once again, when it's like very hot. So you have some cold beer with like a big bowl of pasta and shit, and that's a good combination. Okay, let's fire up Google Earth or Google Maps and start exploring. Now, you can drink the whole bottle if you make a cocktail. No way, you're 41. I am 41. And I'm not into cocktails. Google Maps, let's go. Okay, today I want to explore somewhere in Great Britain. My sister drinks an entire can of cider every day. Oh my God. Do you drink chicken sauce? Go to Chernobyl. No. I want to go to UK. Whitby. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm going to share my... Okay, we're set. It's Whitby now. Look, some people recommend the Teotihuacan pyramids or like other big landmarks, which are cool. But here's the thing. You can see them in a billion other places. And there's not much to explore. There are already things that are there. The magic of Google Maps is being able to see individual streets in a small town or a small city. You probably, even if you're like very rich, you'll probably never have the time to go in your life. So that's the magic. So, okay, let's drop our man. Up Gang Lane feels like a good place. And yes, it's a very up and gang place. Can you see, by the way? I hope you don't have the black screen of death again. Cute houses. Okay, then it's working. Yeah, it seems to be looks very British. It seems to be a very affable part of Britain. Lots of nice cars too. I think this is the English dream right here. Look at this. Planted flowers in front of the house. Nice stained glass things, and I bet they sit here and watch the road. That's very nice. These like yuccas or these Victorian era import palms, they're always also a very good British thing. And look, this person has solar panels. That's a nice house. Whitby is a lovely town. Are you GeoGuessr, says Floor Zone? I know of the game, but I'm not in the mood to play it now. I probably would be good, but let's explore Whitby now. Come on. Oppa. There's nice fake Tudor paneling here. Looks like this was a happy house, but then they paved over their yard. So instead of plants, they have, well, pavement now. This is a nice one, like this. I bet this garden is very secluded and quiet. Neat. Going up Gang Lane. These look recently made over, but absolutely beautiful. We have very little of UK aesthetics. That's the new thing, huh? The UK, that's YOOKEY aesthetics. I think this was a bed and breakfast. Union Place bed and breakfast. Okay, let's look it up. So this is what it looks like. Whitby as an Anglo-Saxon. So yeah. Okay, this could be a charming place to stay. I don't know. Blue room. Can you see it, by the way? The blue room. Wasn't this the place where Rudyard Lynch was psychologically raped by Odin and Hermes Trismegistus and Jesus Christ and God all together? You remember that character? This place makes me want to eat English breakfast with canned beans and black tea and watch Mr. Bean. The best thing about Great Britain. What makes Great Britain great is the breakfast. Beans, sausage, scrambled eggs, tea, coffee. Oh, imagine waking up here and eating all that. God damn. This is a nice place. Look at they know how to live, these people, whoever. Your host, Richard Pottas, is a professional artist. Okay, let's visit his website. Black pudding is the best. Baked beans are so good, says Eleanor. Yes. So, like, from this map, we've come to the hotel. Now we're going to meet the artist who's running this hotel. Richard Potas, watercolor artist. He's very skilled and has a contemporary sensibility. Birmingham College, that's a nice one. Can you see the page, by the way? Confirm that you can see so I don't have to like yap my mouth off at a black screen again. Okay. Let's look at Richard Potas' art. Having sheets of watercolor paper this big, it shows you that this guy must be well off and like really invested in his art. Because if you know anything, like watercolor paper is mighty expensive. Mighty expensive. I once sold an entire painting for like 20 sheets of really large watercolor paper. Then I made more paintings and sold them too. Well, I mean, like Turner-esque a little. I mean, not bad. These are colorful and charming. And the thing with watercolors is that they never look as great as they do in real life in photographs. So I bet in real life, this painting has really like a rainbow of colors that you can really like, you want to drink. But now it's just, well, it's not bad now either, but you really can't experience it on a screen. That's all I'm saying. Then I think he had this contemporary phase where he realized that instead of imitating Turner, so he has this phase where he is imitating Turner, obviously, which is a great British watercolor artist. Then the plants start creeping in and he's infatuated with those. This is a fucking great painting, by the way. Like, I would love to have this in my room. But whatever. Then he had the plants phase. So he was kind of like running ahead with it. By the way, it's very difficult to do illusions like this with watercolor. Like the whites, they're either acrylics or he's using masking fluid to cover those up. I mean, there's like real skills behind these paintings. Then he realized that the colors don't need to look like plants or mountains or seascapes. He can just use the colors themselves. Then Mr. Potas entered a new era in his life, but these are great. So good. Anyways, back to the map. Can you all see the map again? Cheers. Oh yeah, by the way, the result of our poll is beer. Okay, you can see the map. Thank you. Have you read Dracula? It takes place partly in Whitby. I actually didn't read the entire book and I did not know that it was set here. Okay, let's keep exploring the town, huh? I think this was like a Victorian beach town at one point. Ooh, a lot of bed and breakfast places here. Glenora. Really the sort of place you would, I don't know, check in and write books. Maybe not here, though. In front of the gas station would be a bit noisy. What's this? Union Mill. Oh, rental apartments. This is a fantastic building, by the way. The 1930s or 20s interwar Victorian brickwork hybridized with Art Deco. Very nice. Out the old church. Yeah, I'm going there. I'm getting there. To be honest, this visit to Britain was a breath of fresh air after all the chaos we saw in Sinop and Datça and other weird places in Turkey. Okay, so where's the church? Let's try to find. Mhm. Is that the whoop? That is a church. This is like the more modern, like pre-Thatcher era Whitby, I guess, with all the tattoo parlors and the hairdressers. I'm surprised that there's not a Turkish hairdresser, which is actually great. In the UK, the Turkish hairdressers do not represent the country in the best way. Okay, let's look at the church. Where's the church? I would say maybe close to the train station, because that's how the British built their towns. Restaurant and takeaway. I could have fish and chips here. Oh, look at the painted signs. Macy Brown's Harbor. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, this place must be bedlam during the weekends, but still. The Station Inn. Having it's an inn anymore. Oh, you can check in. Okay. Oh. Wait, let's find the church. All right. Hmm. I guess, was this what you were talking about? Top right corner, says Hajmedesh. Well, Whitby Abbey. Okay, that's what we're looking at. All right. Ooh, okay. Wow. Now that's a proper church. Yes. Oh, sorry. Look at this thing. How old is this thing? I know nothing about it. That's a sight to be seen, says my good friend Robotipi. Really, really beautiful and quite old too, I think. Hmm. I'm just looking this thing up. Apparently, Dracula was set in there, and it was opened 657 AD. 657 AD. Can you imagine? 40 years after Islam was a thing on earth, they built this here. Where I live, there's a very small, really old church right in the middle of a modern shopping center. Really, really cute. No. 657 AD. A Christian monastery which later became a Benedictine abbey. That's old, huh? All right. Well, I really like special thanks to Hajmedesh for bringing us here. Like I'm more into like everyday stuff, but this is really phenomenal. Just enjoy this. I'm gonna look up some. Wait. I tried to find if there's any gargoyles here, but I don't know. Anyways, this is really cool. The arches, like really old, and look how crisp they take care of it. Like, now I'm gonna take you all somewhere else. Okay, similar abbey, but I'm gonna take you to Bella Pais Abbey in Turkish North Cyprus. Oh, but sadly, oh, they don't have Google Maps there. Oh. Oh, sorry. Okay, there's a similar monastery. Well, it's not really similar in North Cyprus, in the Turkish Republic of North Cyprus. But you're gonna see the similarities and the differences now. MG5887 says, hello, Kozaman. Hello to you too. So this is Bella Pais Abbey. I hope you can see it. This was built between the 7th and the 8th century. So roughly maybe 50 years after the Whitby monastery. KT says Bugs Bunny Club here. I hope you watched the earlier part of the stream where we had the actual Hope Bugs Bunny. It's frozen, says. Can you see the screen? Oops. Hello. Can you see the screen? Okay. So this is like an entirely different place. A similar monastery. It's not as huge as the Whitby monastery. But yeah, it reminded me of Whitby for some reason. Okay, let's go back exploring, and this is the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. This is the Greek section of Cyprus. It's interesting and cool that Google has labeled it so. But let's go to Whitby again. Now let's look at the seaside. The North Yorkshire Sea. The mansions of the Victorians. And this is a nice thing you have in these seaside places. There's always this like orange stain caused by lichenous growth. Pixar Platypus says, my family is originally from North Cyprus based, and hello to your family. The Bella Pais Monastery was close to Kyrenia, which was a historic town in Cyprus. Anyways, this is Whitby town, going on the seaside walk. It is like my Near Eastern mind cannot comprehend there not being any rubbish on the roads. I think this is an incredible achievement of Westerners. Just so beautiful. Being in one of these houses must be really cozy when there's a storm about, huh? Bıyıklı Tavşan says, Hope Bugs Bunny Gang. Cheers to you too. Oh. Well, the beer is making me sleepy already, guys. Cauliflower says, why can't we accomplish that here? Why can't we have no garbage in the streets? Well, when you say this, local irredentists, usually morons, I must add, always say that, oh, look, we don't have trash, we have trash on the streets. It's true, but our houses are very clean. While these Westerners, they didn't know how to shower 100 years ago, or like some other bullshit defense. I think it comes from a sense of civic duty. That, I mean, I read it somewhere that to the Englishman, life itself is the best art. So everything must be like the beauty of everything affects them and impacts them. Whereas in places like Turkey or, well, anywhere east of, I think, Prague or whatever, they have a very pragmatic but also graceless way of looking at things. I guess it's the same in the Balkans, but let's face it, it gets worse the more you get into the Near East. The question is whether you regard the public as part of your life or whether you staunchly separate the private and the public, says Flowzone. Very true and very base. Very, very true. You nailed it. I think it might change after Gen Z and the subtle shift in population, but it's very true. I think like this us them mentality is very ingrained in Turkish people. Well, in many people among this part of the world. And even when you think of the outside as a place to be protected, you're still not really overcoming that mental chasm. Because it's a low trust society, it literally doesn't pay. Actually, it hurts you to be civic and participatory. Because you'll just be thrown over and used. So I think there's like a deeper philosophical take. And I don't know. Yeah, like the throwing away of cigarette butts is insane and stupid. I even saw it like I was at a friend's wedding in like Florence, Italy, and this was like the most educated group of Turkish people. There were lots of Jewish people among them. Like everybody, almost everybody studied in the United States or Great Britain, whatever. This was in Florence. And even here, I've seen at least two of these motherfuckers smoking and throwing it on the road. It's horrible, I think. There are cultural differences in architecture, public design, infrastructure. Maybe that's too much, but Europe has that central place theory, while cities in Muslim countries were structural difference. And also, populations in Muslim countries, like you almost would never find a person whose ancestors go back more than 2 generations or 3 generations in the big city. They always came from somewhere else, from the countryside, the boondocks, sometimes from entirely different parts of the region. As a Gen Z, I don't smoke. I want to kick ass of a lot of people in my age. Well, you got a lot of asses to kick. Anyways, this is an imponderable. Instead of wasting time figuring it out, as the Turkish saying goes, sikilmiş götün davası. Let's explore this incredible, beautiful place. Now, these are, I think, the fancy houses, huh? And this is a very badly done fancy house. I compare this with this one. No, I'd rather live here. Or even this. I think these circular windows, look at how nice these are. Everything here has the crispness of salted chips. The windows even have roses in them. Nihilan says, Kozaman, I wish you were an architect. Vuda, kuda, shuda, huh? Oh my God. Got some subliminal Israeli propaganda here in this fence. I'm just joking. It's just a beer talking. Someone parked their camper here. Oops. And anyways, that's that view of the sea, and imagine the sound here, like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Very nice. Anyways, where else should we teleport next? There's often a fish and chip shop near the sea. Yeah, let's look for a fish and chip shop here. Hadley's fish and chips. There's even a bridge. I think the town, look at this, old biddies and their dogs. J'adore. Jewelry boutique. Yeah, just selling pap, to be honest, but it's still nice to be in here among everybody. Oh yes, after this trip, we are going to have our imaginary fish and chips here. Yes. I like it. Bournemouth or anywhere in Dorset. Okay. This place reminds me of Breton, says Hajmedesh. You are a very well-traveled friend, I think. My grandma might be in Streetview, says, okay. The Edge Bistro. This is the bistro where they swindle you. This is the fish and chip shop where you also pay a lot, but you, I think, get your money's worth. But you know what? In Britain, the good old Weatherspoons pub, say what you will, I think they're unbeatable when it comes to fish and chips or sausage on mash and all those. Squid Rock. Okay, you can find your aesthetics here. Very gothic and okay. Bit of a squalid shop, that one. Just want to cross the bridge and see the harbor from the bridge. The Dolphin Bar, kitchen, rooms. This is a nice one. Of course, you have to realize that almost like every pub here must do fish and chips. Okay. Dawn of Antiquity. What the hell is this place? Collectibles. They got a tuatara in the window. I can't believe it. Look. They have a tuatara or an iguana. Yeah, just here in front of this guy's head. It's either a tuatara or one of the Australian dragons. Of course, stuffed, not a real animal. Or maybe it's just fabricated. Oh, and here they had the visual eyes. Okay, you know this shit that they have? I think they have them in every big city now. It's a place where they have these optometrists instruments. So it's basically for like matcha drinking fools. And they take macro shots of your iris and sell it back to you for like 50 quid or shit. But it's just such a swindle and such a grift. Do you often visit antique stores? I do, but I don't buy anything from them. Pupil pendants, yeah, exactly. The most egotistical, yeah, it's matcha drinker pap. Sorry if you like matcha, but that's the crowd it's been associated with. There's also places where they make necklaces out of those eye picks. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Oops. I pushed the wrong button. Anyways. Okay, I'm going to look for a bookshop in Whitby. Then we will conclude our visit there. And it's almost been 2.5 hours. I really like the dirty old aesthetics of old fishing towns or ports. I wonder if this was such a place back in the day. I think like in Victorian era, this might have been a grimier place, but even then it seems to be. Remember, the Victorians had holiday towns too, and this seems to be like a holiday town from the get-go. There's a Whitby bookshop. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. In parts of Britain, these old handwritten signs are protected. So this is the bookshop, but they can't erase the old sign that says E.V. Agar and Son Decorators, which I think is really cool. Yeah, but it's a generic bestseller kind of bookshop. Okay. But they have this really nice, narrow, and walkable street. Traditional games shop. Interesting. So any like board game enthusiasts among you might like this thing. Deja vu. Anyways, look how nice this is. Get your books and you have coffee here. How about that? Ooh, what's this? Clock tower of sorts. Really old and eccentric, maybe from the 1700s, who knows? The Hatless Heron, okay. Yeah, but I really love this Church Street. Look at these places. I think these are still houses. I mean, this is where I would live, definitely. Definitely, this is where I would live. Good measure against architecture heritage destruction. Yes, flow zone, very true. Fudge toffee, okay, whatever. If cars were not a thing, I think all cities in the world would be like this. This would be the scale at which they were built. Another small church, I think. Honeys, what the hell is this? Bath products, okay. I'm really enjoying this narrow street, by the way. Whitby Galleries, too bad we can't look inside. Incantation. Looks like a shop for magic pap. Okay. Cardamom cottages. Okay, you can, I think, rent some of the houses here. Whoop. Anyways, this was just wonderful. All right, look, I'll tell you what. Here is what I'm going to do. One of you mentioned GeoGuessr. Okay. I'm going to have a little go at this GeoGuessr thing. And then I'm going to have a night. It's been 2.5 hours. I'm full of beer. I hope you've enjoyed my incessant talking. KTC says, do you like grid cities or random ones? What's your opinion about them? There's been a big debate about grids and naturally forming cities, which have all these like convoluted streets. I remember one of the best people who spoke about them was Lewis Mumford, who is this American philosopher and architectural critic. And there was a big debate about San Francisco, where it's a city built on hills, but the American engineers insisted on enforcing their grid plan onto the hills. So the hills have like perpendicular streets where the that just go up and down. In fact, this is why they have the famous streetcars there. And then when people objected to this grid design, somebody said, wow, should we have built it like a cow path instead? Trying to mock it, you know, linking cow paths to like backwards farmers' places or like bumpkins and countryside yokels, really. Trouble is, actually, this was Lewis Mumford's retort. And he says these people did not know that cows are the best surveyors of terrain and the most efficient guides of roads, which is true. Because a cow doesn't want to lose time, it just wants to look for the best path. So, like, okay, let's actually compare them. Wait, I'm going to share. Let's go to San Francisco. If you're going to San Francisco, make sure to meet some gentle people there. If you were going, I really hate this city, by the way. Like we've spoken a lot of shit about Istanbul or like Turkey and trash on the streets, but like this is worse than all the shit combined. Like especially San Francisco, I have a strong dislike towards. Okay, so it looks like this: straight paths. Okay, now there's some garbage on the street, so I don't feel so called out. But this is still, I think these must be worth like millions of dollars now. But so you try to walk from point A to B. Okay, this is a great example. It's all full of slopes. So I guess it doesn't matter if you're driving everywhere, but if you try to walk, and I have been in San Francisco and I have tried to walk here. If you have been here, it's just very, very hard to. Oh, I got a text message from one of you guys saying the screen doesn't work. Oh no, black screen. Okay, I have to wait. Let me know when you can see it. Berke says, I am currently in San Francisco. I can see it now. Okay. Thanks, Eleanor. Okay, so like this is the problem with the grid imposed on San Francisco. It's like a roller coaster. It goes up and down and up and down, and like walking around is really hard. And okay, maybe it's not a problem if you're driving everywhere. Still, it can't be too kind on your gearboxes. And yeah, anyways, this is it. Okay, San freaking Francisco. Now you look back at the map and see it's like almost designed like a microchip. But let's compare it with another city built on a similar terrain. Istanbul. I'm going to take you to. Anyways, there's a similar geography here. There's a sea, and there are valleys that go down towards the sea and stuff like that. Now, they try to do the San Francisco thing here too, in these streets. And once again, they go up and down, up and down. These are some nice Armenian buildings, by the way. I know this place so well. So there's a grid here too. But now let's look at one of the gridless places, okay? To the strangely named Black People New Road Street. That's what they call it. Zenciler Yeni Yol Street, Sokak, or whatever. Okay, it leaves a lot to be desired, but you see now, because it's following the contours of the terrain, it gives you a nice view of a valley, and it's like, okay, ignore the architecture and the mess, but like as far as the situation goes, like there's these little breaks where you can still catch the view of the Bosporus. And yes, San Francisco could have benefited from such a city planning. Like, let's look at one of those unplanned streets again. Woohoo. You see the gentle curve. Look, this is very like this is a very neat thing. Like this curve follows the hills and it guides your eyes. So if it was just one straight street, it would be a bit depressing. But now there's this gentle curve. and it gives the whole neighborhood a sort of more relaxed sensation. Okay, ignore that these are narrow streets, but even here there are some great buildings from the 1920s. In fact, this is a Art Deco building right here, this thing. They're just building this new one. You see, I mean, it's more organic, is what I'm trying to say. Like a city built with this natural plan, but let's say with like Western urban standards, would be really sweet and beautiful. And I'm sure these places exist. I mean, but look, that's the neat thing. Like from the end of this road, you can catch a glimpse of the sea and anonymous people walking in. And now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Okay, Robotipi says go to Esenler, which is a very notorious neighborhood of Istanbul. They have no grid or schematics. Okay, let's look at that. Esenler may have a grid, to be honest. It's very, very long grids, like slices of nightmare baklava. Where am I even looking at? Esenler is here, no? Okay, this is the Esenler district. Well, there is a grid of sorts. It's like this patchwork. Yeah, but I mean, this is one of the most notorious neighborhoods of Istanbul. In fact, the nickname goes Esenler, Boğaz Kesenler, which means Esenler, where your throat gets slit. I mean, the nuances might be hard to grasp to a first-time observer between here and the last neighborhood I showed you. But I mean, the buildings here are more haphazardly built, and I mean, to be honest, it's the inhabitants here rather than the buildings themselves. But yeah, these are like, come nightfall, these are not very safe streets, at least at the time of recording. Drugs are a big problem here, as are mafia type gangs. But anyways, look, if people have their entire lives here, so like, yeah, once again, my goal is like, I'm a bit tipsy, sorry, but my goal is to show different parts of the world to different people. So usually one side understands how lucky they are, and the other side dares to dream. That is that. In Esenler, Mafia Street Tour. Yeah, we expected Esenler to have no grid, but it actually has some sort of a grid plan. I mean, I think it's more gritty than Üsküdar, which was the class place we like. This was where we were now, and like, I mean, boom. It's more historic, and it's a more organically evolved part of the city. Actually, you know what? The best difference, you can see this in Salonika. So once part of the Ottoman Empire, after a great fire, which conveniently burned down all the Jewish and Turkish Jewish neighborhoods, they built half of Thessaloniki again. The grid part you can see here. I mean, the grid here was built after the First World War. But the upper town here is still the old Turkish plan. And this was actually where the Turks used to live. And you can see the tangled streets are still remnants of the Ottoman Empire. Now let's drop a man here and see the difference. It's just like Istanbul, but this being Europe, at least nominally, no, they've taken better care of the place. And also, there are not that many people. I mean, they can afford to make beautiful architectural designs like this because Istanbul has more people than all of Greece. So they're not strained under a population. So they can afford to build things like these, like fancy doors and flowers, open balconies, and they can, I guess, paint their houses every year. Still, there's a sort of very interesting demolished plot which wouldn't look out of place in Istanbul. And there's, look, a genuine Turkish house from the days of the Ottoman Empire. Now I'm going to compare this with Salonika, is also a town which I visited and I love. Now you see when the streets curve naturally, all the houses can afford a view. Now I'm going to compare this with the modern part of Thessaloniki. Boom. And these are just straight streets, but it's more of a grid. But once again, they keep it reasonably clean. Hieros Naios Agio Nikolaou. It's Church of St. Nicholas. Okay. There's a Kava Archis, which was closed down, but they used to sell wines and cigars here. So like Greece always reminds me of a cleaner version of like Mediterranean Turkey, basically. Especially like Athens is a shithole, but Salonika is very stately and humane and livable, and still, I mean, like this street, okay. Actually, most citizens of Saloniki live in this neighborhood, which is Kalamaria, which is like their version of Moda or Bostancı. There's a neighborhood that's called Katirli, which means, it's a Turkish name. It means donkey herders, or the place with the donkeys. So you see all the apartments in Kalamaria. This is really similar to parts of Istanbul like Bostancı or Maltepe or the Baghdad Avenue area. And I know this doesn't mean much to non-Turkish, non-Mediterranean viewers, but Broteus says, didn't know you were streaming like this. Do you have a set schedule? No, I just stream when I feel like it. But yeah, this is a neat part. Like, this is a part of Greece I live in. It has this mix of, well, European cleanliness and order, but also you got details like this with the plants growing out of the pavement, which doesn't look out of place in Turkey. The pavements are straight out of Turkey. But it's very clean. So anyways, if you go to Thessaloniki, there's even a Marmara Street. Look at this, like Mudanya, Vitinias, Köy. Murozdion, Metropol. Okay, some names are in Turkish or are common words with Turkish. Let's look at Marmara Street. Because, like, one thing you notice in Thessaloniki, which with the Greek people living there, is that most of them are descendants of people who had to move away from Turkey or even Istanbul. So they're always very wistful and nostalgic about their old homes. Imagine like naming a street about after your old homeland. So like the friendships you can have here, they will be very valuable if you ever are lucky to travel. Just move past the whole like military edit sidik yarışı and move past the whole like foods and whatever. Like, it's so beautiful. It's like a cleaner version of certain districts in Istanbul. Marmara. Well, you had it. You had it all. You had it all, my friends, but kind of squandered it too. But that's no reason to start a fight. Food Plaza. Okay. Oh, this is the Food Plaza. Anyways, these are really nice. Look, I'm talking my mouth off. I'm sorry. Analipsi is also a great neighborhood. Okay, let's find a street in Analipsi with a Turkish name. But you wouldn't. There's one. Trapezuntos, Trabzon Street. Okay, boom. So Analipsi is a slightly more working class and not as fancy as Kalamaria. Vroom, vroom. You can hear the mopeds by looking at these pictures already. Vroom, vroom. One thing with the Greeks you have to notice is that balconies really mean a lot to these people. In fact, that's probably the only different thing. Like everybody sits out on these balconies. They have AC in their homes. Compare it to places in Istanbul, I told you. And I mean, just remember that Esenler place where all the houses were like dungeons with small windows, and this is the difference that the Greek mind has, which I think in Turkey people can learn a lot from. That's what I believe, yeah. Fossilized wool. I sculpted a Parasaurolophus out of aluminum foil for a school project. I hope they loved it. I hope they liked it. Trabzon is a Pontic Greek. Well, the name is Pontic Greek. It's a fully Turkish city now. Do they share balconies with neighbors? Maybe. Depends on the house. I think no, you know. No. That's like Biblia. That's a bookstore. I have a dream-like memory from one of the streets in Thessaloniki. It wasn't this one. It was more close to the center. So like this is the center of the city, okay? Timsiki Palace and Aristotelius Square. There's even a Haris Alexiou song by that name. Stin Aristotelios Pogernias. It's like a flipped version of Izmir, which used to be Smyrna. But anyways, look, this is the center of the city. If you visit as a tourist, you'll probably like explore this place or stay around this place. There's the Timsiki Avenue. There's a Zara shop. big boulevards done in German or French fashion. But yeah, these streets are fine. But these are like the commercial heartlands of Salonika. Um, I have a memory. I think there was a place called Bit Pazar. Wait. Mm, no. Okay, Platea Bit Pazar. Yeah. So there's a small tangle of streets here called the Bit Pazar, which in Turkish means the, well, bazaar or something. Ah, here, yes. So this is like the more anarcho-communist enclave within Thessaloniki itself, due for a dungeon housewarming. So I have a memory here where I was walking in one of these streets. I don't know which one, of course. It was years and years ago, 20 years ago. And there was a bookshop selling books about experimental Second World War German aviation typesetting Greek. And the paintings were really eclectic too. I think it was by a Greek author. I wanted to buy one, but it was like 50 euros, which is a lot of money. So I couldn't. I always felt bad about it. But this is where you have all the antiques and stuff like that. Why is there a sign on Russian? It's not Russian, it's Greek. Paleio, Polio, Yannis, it says. Yannis Antiques. Or Old City. I know how to read Greek. I mean, here, Antiprosopo, Yannis, G, that's a G. Halavatzoga, Halavatzog. Okay, I'm going to show you something very interesting now. Okay, Turkish speakers in the audience. Halvatzoglu. They still have the oğlu suffix after their names, especially in Northern Greeks. Halvatzoğlu, Halvaçoğlu. This name goes. So this is how close some of these people were. So that's like a very poignant and painful thing about Helvacıoğlu. Yes, that's a very painful thing about Turkey and Greek. Look, I mean, whatever happened. But like when you explore these places, you really wish or dare to dream that it would be possible to move beyond that. Who knows? Maybe 100 years later, Kurdish speakers will be doing the same about Google Maps of Ankara, Istanbul, Izmir. Then it would be water under the bridge. Flowzone says, do you think the reason for these differences are more due to fundamental, or is it just because Greece is in the EU and profited earlier? I think it's a bit of both. I think Greece really was on the lucky receiving end of a lot of German economic blackmail in form of EU loans. They built their roads and forced them to buy Mercedes. They knew they couldn't pay it back, but so a lot of these, for example, this is EU money, okay? Like when you go to Platea Aristotelius, this is European money, like all over the place. In those domestic neighborhoods, I think it's still like business as usual. But generally speaking, Greece has been like always semi-dependent on European money to like function. But there are also little things which cannot just be explained by economics. Like look at this neighborhood called Pefka. Boom. This is more like villas and stuff. Once again, it's like things like balconies or now, okay. I don't feel so cold out now because they have garbage on the streets too, and the roads are horrible. I think the roads are better in Turkey, I must admit. Some of it comes to culture, or even there, I say ethnic facts. I mean, if you look at the historic city centers in present day Turkey where a Greek majority used to live, so this is Izmir, and then it would be close to Basmane. It's not too dissimilar, but once again, there are no balconies. More pragmatic and graceless, but also a more like humane vibe to the whole place. But they're escaping it. I mean, like, I'm not saying this as an insult, but like this was the Greek neighborhood of Izmir, by the way. But from this to that, by the way, I mean, like here, the economy is far more dynamic. Even in these like graceless shops, I think you can find many more products and for cheaper prices than you would in good old Hellas. But it is what it is. It's like a trade-off. Turkish people have always become more, have always been like pragmatic to the point, but at the cost of ignoring beauty. And then when you travel outside of Turkey, you see what that little difference means. If you look at these places, Kadife Kale, Mount Pagos, you drive. I mean, now these places are changing into something completely different now. I mean, it's turning into Esenler. A bit of a shady area, this one. This was the old Jewish neighborhood, actually. But I mean, yeah, you see the difference. The lands of Homer and what it became, like it's not that bad. I'll take you to a fancy place of Izmir. So we don't commit suicide over here, but this is a very nice place here. This, oh, can't I go there? This is a very nice street. Now you see that like sense of the Mediterranean that Turkey used to share with Greece, still here, like a quiet song. Oh, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go here at all, you shit. Okay, you see this like quiet sense of the Mediterranean that Turkey used to share with Greece, like a faint melody in the background. Na 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 na. Like listen, like if I could like give somebody a university education, it would be like 4 years of traveling in the Mediterranean between different countries, like the great cities, Izmir, Athens, Salonika, Istanbul, Ankara, maybe Antalya, then Beirut, Tel Aviv, Haifa, like Alexandria. Alexandria was a wonderful place too. Alexandria still. There's a great book about literature. Now it's you can't even drop a man. Yeah, but see, it's the same whisper of the Mediterranean. Whisper of the Mediterranean. I think the Greek mind did a lot of heavy lifting here, but they were never statistically the majority. Alexandria had a huge Greek population too. In fact, one of the most preeminent Greek poets, Kavafi, lived here. But they were never the majority. After they left, okay, here's a place, here's a site where even the shittiest Turkish neighborhood, where the residents of even the shittiest Turkish neighborhood can feel great about themselves. So, anyways, that was the tale of the Mediterranean. So, if I had to design like a 4-year curriculum, it would be literally like go to Egypt, live there for 6 months, explore the cities, talk to people, learn the history, do the same in Israel, the West Bank, Lebanon, southern Turkey, Cyprus, western Turkey, Greece, maybe even like Sicily and Crete too. Thought invoking, isn't it? Makes one think. Sorry. In some cultures, it's a sign of respect. 54 people watching me yap, 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 yap. Have you watched Cowboy Bebop? My brother in Christ, I cannot think or care less about Cowboy Bebop now. I haven't watched it. No disrespect. Not in the mood to talk about it now. Visit the Greek villages in southern Italy. Give me a name. I don't know much about the Greek villages there. But like I hope this could give you a sense, like this lost sense of the Mediterranean. You can also find it in places like even in small towns like Ayvalık is a good example where they used to have a big Greek population. Then they evacuated them before World War One, actually. And now no balconies. Okay, I'm gonna do an experiment. Okay, I mean this is just a random shot from Ayvalık. I'm gonna take a screenshot. Then we're gonna go straight left until we hit the mainland and we hit a Greek city. Okay, what's this? Palios. This is one of the islands, I think. No, oh, this is Lesbos. Okay, fly a bit more then. Okay, we have a lot of flying to do. Go, go, go. Okay, this is a nice one. Oh, but this is a beach. But still. Anyways, look. Let's fly until we hit the mainland and like find a proper city or town that's comparable to. Okay, Volos is here. Volos is a similar town. And it's actually a huge city. Boom. Let's take a picture. Okay, now you compare the Turkish side and you compare the Greek side. and then draw your own conclusions about what each side lost and gained or preserved. It's this efficient but artless pragmatism that makes Turkish people really versatile versus this way the Greeks have or had about themselves, about what life should be like, what a city should be like. Anyways, it is what it is. Bova in Calabria. Okay, we're gonna go there, and I think I'm gonna crash out soon. So, crash out as in like crash to the bed and sleep. Iagram says, just came in. What are we talking about? Oh, brother, what are we not talking about? We're exploring the Mediterranean together and feeling a little wistful. Can you see the map, by the way? This was on the very tippy top of the Italian mainland. Okay, you can see it. Oh, but this is a whole other ball game. Look at how, I mean, this is on top of a huge cliff. This is a very Italian scene, by the way. Nobody, yet still a lamppost. Oh, this is an incredible place. Of course, these, I don't know much about these parts of Italy, but I think like this place must have been untouched for hundreds of years, huh? This is a place for poets or eccentrics to live. Museo Civico della Lingua Greca Calabria. This is the Greek Calabrian Civic Museum. Okay. A modern church, but yeah, I mean, these are beautiful places. Whole other sense of beauty. Okay, everybody, look, I had a great time hanging out with you all. 3 hours. I'm gonna draw the line. 1 a.m. Go to bed. I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and I hope if you're in the replay gang, you consider contributing to my Patreon and all the other stuff. And wherever you are, whoever you are, have a lovely time. Hello from America, says Tazimbor. Eleanor says, time to sleep to dream. Good night, says KTC. Good night to Luke Saterna. Good night to BKL. Good night to Eleanor. Well, say your good nights. Good night to Yusufern. Good night to Kranes. Good night to Guitar Tapping Master. Robotipi, Iagram, Hajmedesh. You had some great recommendations. Good night to Pepi Pepi Pepi. Antediluvian Machine, great name. Good night. Good night to Fossilized Fool and Flow Zone and Venture Lord. And a stream is always a great way to end the day. Well, it really is. Bottoms up, everybody. Good night and have a lovely time. And as always, I love you all. Where are you from? I am from the mystical village of Ebenin orası. See you later.